Okay, guys, here is a little practice for our 6-4-6-5 test that you will have on Friday. When it says to give the approximate answer in both degrees and radians, that means you're going to have to move your calculator from degrees to radians, depending on which way you're asking the question. So remember, our second tan, second sine, second cosine, those are arc tangents, arc cosines, those are inverse. So what we're going to do is, let's answer let's just answer here as we go through. If I have the arc tangent of 0.42 in my calculator, I'm just going to hit second tangent, and then I'm going to put in 0.42, and I get enter, and I get 22.7824, 7824, and that's degrees. Now, if I want to know what that is in radians, I have to change my calculator from degrees to radians. So if you don't know how to do that, you guys need to make sure that you check somewhere in your manual or something on how to go from degrees to radians. But then once you shift into the correct mode, which if you're going to answer in radians, you want to be in the radian mode, you would simply just, again, hit second tangent and then put 0.42. So we would get... Tangent 0.42 radians is 0.3976. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to do inverse sine of 2, and we're going to do the inverse sine of 2 in radians and degrees. So I'm going to make sure if you're in degrees, we're answering in degrees. So I'm going to hit second sine 2 and hit enter, and I get math error. So that would be undefined, which is okay. You're allowed to get that. So now I'm going to shift my calculator, go to radians, and see what I get here. If I go back, I'm going to say, okay, second sine of 2. Second sine 2. And I get math error again. So this is undefined in both cases. All right, perfect. So now we're going to do the same thing in degrees. I'm going to make sure my calculator is in degrees. I'm going to shift to degrees. So I have now, ladies and gents, we're going to hit second cosine 0.93, and I get an answer of 21.5652 degrees. Now I'm going to shift my calculator into radians, and I'm going to ask that same question here, and I'm going to get second cosine 0.93, and I get 0.3764 radians. So make sure your answer, in whatever you're answering, if it's in degrees, your calculator should be in degree mode. If it's in radians, your calculator should be in radian mode. So if you don't know how to do that, you got to Google it and figure out what's going on there. Now, down here, guys, when they're telling us to solve for theta, they're showing you what angle they're talking about for theta. Every time we're solving here, we want to be in degrees. So here's my theta. I know this is a right triangle because I have the right triangle marking. So what did they give me in regards to theta? They gave me the hypotenuse, which is 36, and they gave me the adjacent side, which is 17. So which trig function uses adjacent and hypotenuse? That would be cosine. So you would say the cosine of theta equals the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. Now we want theta by itself. So think about what's the opposite of cosine theta? Well, that would be inverse. So I'm going to take the inverse of both sides. So these would cancel out. So you get theta equals, and in your calculator, you would just hit second cosine -1 would come up, and you put 17 over 36. Remember, we should be in degree mode. So in your calculator, go ahead and put second cosine 17 over 36. Let's see what we get. I get about 61.82 degrees. So theta would be 61.82 degrees, somewhere around there. All right, same thing here. Let's look at this one. Here is my theta. In reference to theta, what did they give me? Well, this is a right triangle. They gave me the opposite side, and they gave me the adjacent side. So what trig function uses opposite and adjacent? That would be tangent. So you have tangent of theta equals opposite over adjacent. Now when we would work this out, I want theta by itself. So I would take the opposite or the inverse tangent. What you do to one side, you do to the other. So you have theta equals, and you would just put second tangent, 11 divided by 8 in your calculator. That's what we get. And I get that theta is about 53.97 degrees. Remember, we should be in degrees because we're finding the angle measure in degrees. Again, right here, they give us theta. What did they give me in reference to theta? They gave me the opposite side, and they gave me the hypotenuse. So what trig function uses opposite and hypotenuse? That would be sine. So sine of theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. We want to get theta. You want to get theta all by itself. So the opposite of sine would be arc sine. So sine -1. What you do to one side, guys, remember you do to the other. So second sine. And then in your calculator, you would put, so I have theta equals, when you hit second sine, then 5 divided by 21, you get about 13.77 degrees. Now we come down here and they're asking us to solve the triangle. They want us to solve all of the pieces that are missing. So I'm going to have to find the measure of angle A. I have to find side A, and I have to find side B. So the easiest thing to do starting off would be to find the measure of angle A, because I know that there is 180 degrees in a triangle. So the first thing I'm going to do is say, well, I have 94 degrees in one angle, and I have 23 in the other. So add that up, and I get 117 degrees. Well, that means angle A is 180 minus 117 degrees, which gives me 63 degrees. So the measure of angle A is 63 degrees. Now I'm going to find the side length measures of A and B. And this is where, guys, you're going to have to use our law of sines. That's that ratio of a side and its given angle. So I'm going to use this one that they gave me, and I'm going to say that the sine of 94 over 34.7 is proportionate or equal to the sine of 23. So sine of 23 over side B. I don't know what B is, so I'm going to solve for it here. We could have done A. I don't know. I just chose to do B right now. So I'm going to cross multiply. I get 34.7 times the sine of 23, not 33, equals B times the sine of 94. Now I'm trying to get B by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by the sine of 94, divided by sine 94. So we're going to get that side B is approximately, and I'm going to do 34.7 times sine 23 divided by sine 94. Guys, remember, you should be in degrees. So I get that side B is about 13.59 units, whatever the units are that they got. So I got 13.59. And now I need to solve for A. So I'm going to use the same proportion that I just used. I'm going to use the proportion of sine 94 over 34.7 equals the sine of angle A, which we said was 63, so sine of 63 over side A. So same process, guys. Cross multiply. 34.7 times the sine of 63 equals A times the sine of 94. Divide by the sine of 94. And I get A is approximately, just do it on your calculator, 34.7 times the sine of 63 divided by sine of 94. And I get that side A is about 30.99 units, whatever those units may be, but it's about 30.99. Now you can kind of go back and look at your answers and see if they make sense. The largest angle is C, so that should be across from the largest side. The smallest angle is B, so that should be across from the smallest side. So if angle B is 23, the smallest side is 13.59. That's great. Angle A and side A should be in the middle. They should be less than C, but bigger than A, and so should the side length. So that all works out perfectly. So that is very similar to what your test is going to look like on Friday. So make sure you guys know how to do these things. You know how to solve triangles and solve problems. And then you should be ready for your test, which is going to be on Friday.